JNet Live on Tuesday, Renew US. Let's go through the checklist. We have the Studio 5 up. We have a football stadium background up. We have all cameras on, aimed and in focus. We have YouTube in sync and locked in. We have Dale Duduit in the green room. So we will switch to Studio 5 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Renew US on a Tuesday night, and as I said at the top of the hour, there are two things special about Tuesday night. Number one, we dedicate this night to worshiping and praising and fellowship. We set aside our anger issues. We set aside our discontent. But the second unique thing about Tuesday night is Dale Duduit. And Dale Duduit is in our green room. Let's bring him on board right now, because Dale is a brother in Christ. He is the world's most interesting man, in my opinion. He is a successful blogger, author, writer, and speaker. And it is a real honor to call him a friend and a guest here on this show every Tuesday night. Dale, we don't have anger issues on Tuesday night, but your blog today is on, well, anger issues. We'll talk about anger issues anyway.
Yeah. I try to set aside 30 minutes out of the week where I'm not angry, and this is that night. So that 30 minutes. The rest of it, I get pretty frustrated at times. So, but yeah, it was an interesting blog, interesting conversation I had with Chad Pennington at the Super Bowl, and he was very open and willing to discuss his struggles, and he just started talking, and I just listened. And he said some very emotional things, some unique words, and he just opened up and told me what his struggles were.
I know that any athletic competition, even baseball, but to less of an extent than football, but the intensity of competition seems to exacerbate anger because you're under a lot of stress. You're being pushed. One of the things that we try to coach players is we don't coach them to not get angry. We all get angry. What we try to do is use that anger. Don't let that anger siphon off your energy. Use that anger and channel it and focus it and repurpose the anger. Now, your blog takes a little bit of a different spin on that idea, but that is exactly what this young man did. He coped with that anger, and now he is sharing how to live a new life outside of the NFL when you retire.
Yeah, Chad had an outstanding career here at Marshall University, which is 45 minutes from our home, where my son went to college. And then he played a very successful career in the NFL. Most of his career was with the Jets. He was twice named Comeback Player of the Year, which is really rare, for someone to win it once yet twice.
Yeah.
And 1 year he actually finished second in the MVP voting behind Peyton Manning. He was that dependable.
For real.
And yeah, so Chad had he wasn't a dazzling superstar, but he was a very consistent passer. Very consistent. He ran the offense really well, and a very successful career. Very smart, intelligent passer. So he dedicated his life to football and played it all his life, and was very, very good at it. And towards the end of his career, due to some injuries, he was sidelined and was benched. And he said he just really couldn't handle that. He was in a position where he always was always starting, was always playing, and when he was benched, he took that as he took that personal, and he thought everybody had abandoned him. And he told me the last few years he played that he just hated to get up, hated to go to work, couldn't stand the NFL, couldn't stand football. And he opened up about that, about how it really took him to his knees, and that he had to deal with that. And through all that, he learned how to deal with not loss, but being displaced and being pushed aside to let other people come in and take his position. So now what he does now for the NFL is he's a consultant for players who go through similar circumstances, who once they retire, get cut, or they're no longer playing in the NFL, that limelight and that money and that glamour is gone. And that's that's all the things some of these players know is this glamorous life. And when it's gone, they don't know how to handle it. And I pointed out in my blog that a lot of these players go bankrupt. A lot of these players suffer from depression because they're on top of the mountain and then all of a sudden they're in the valley and they don't know how to handle it, and the suicide rate goes up. So his job now is to help those players make that transition to life, because there is life after football. And so he said he would not have known how to go through that if he hadn't gone through it. And he went through it during his career. So that has aided him in helping others go through what he went through and come out on top.
Well, your blog brings up some points that are very salient but very germane. One point that it brings up is football in particular, but it's not football. It's almost any secular profession.
Yeah.
Our jobs that we do, our approval, our acceptance is not based on who we are. It's based on how well we perform. Okay, you can have a bad year. Just have a bad year. You're still the same person you were the year before when you did so well, but maybe you didn't do as well this year. Well, now all of those accolades that were heaped upon you are withheld. But see, that's the world system. That's the pagan system. You reward behavior you want to reoccur. You punish behavior you don't want to reoccur. But see, the Christian biblical model has nothing to do with that. See, God's love is unconditional. He doesn't love us because we do a great job of being good. None of us do a good job of being good. In fact, the scriptures say that our best of works are as filthy rags to the Lord. But God loves us unconditionally. So that is something that we are supposed to live out with each other in our fellowship with one another. But the performance-based acceptance is the norm. You get the valedictorian got that way because they got the grades. So we have to live in the world, yet we should not be of the world.
Well, one of the first things people ask is when you meet somebody is, what do you do?
Exactly.
What do you do for a living?
And why do you want to know that? Are you really curious to know what they do?
No, you're trying to impress people because you want to tell them what you do, I think.
Well, and I think what I do, I'm trying to kind of size them up. Are they important? Are they an asset to me? Can they take me forward? Or, you're trying to rank them.
Yeah. So, and as I get older and later in life, I'm starting to reevaluate some of those things too. Is this what I do? Does it matter? Is it important? And sometimes I get discouraged, like Chad. I mean, I'm not pushed aside. Sometimes I fight those struggles every day. It's what I'm doing important. Does it really matter in my life? What should I be doing? What could I be doing better? And those are real struggles I face. So I was able to relate to Chad to some extent on that, because I didn't go through what he went through. Of course, I don't have the resources he does either. So to make things a little better, if you're getting paid $3-4 million to set a bench, it's not all that bad. But I think he wanted to compete. I think he's an athlete by nature. He competes, and he doesn't like to sit on the sidelines. I don't either. So it's something that I think if we look at ourselves deep down, you struggle with those things. Is what I'm doing, does it really matter? I mean, when my father was dying, and we didn't talk about his job to him. There's other things that are more important. I mean, it's important to have a job, have a career, have a sense of identity, but it's not really who we are. And as I said earlier, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to reevaluate things myself.
One of the things that I take note of in football, and I'll use the quarterback because that seems to be the focal point of the game only because of the cameras, but nonetheless, let's say the first-string quarterback gets injured. I've seen that first-string quarterback coach his replacement and help the man out on the sideline. That's character. That's a winner.
Yeah, and I think a lot of your top players will do that. I think you see that a lot. You also see the other side,
And
but
a lot do the
yeah.
opposite. They,
But that reminds me of one of the devotions I did in Dugout Devotions about Brian Dozier, who plays now for the Nationals. When I interviewed him, he was with the Twins. He told me a story about when he was in college and he decided to forego the draft and to finish his senior year out. And he dove to make a play and shattered his collarbone. And he
mm,
thought, I've
mm,
messed up.
mm,
There goes my career. There
yeah.
goes my aspirations. But he said he had 8 screws put in his shoulder, and that year he learned to be a leader. He instructed the other players. He cheered them on. He rooted for them, and he motivated them. So
Mm,
he said he told me he didn't play that year, but that was the year he developed as a leader because he couldn't
mm.
play physically on the field. He could do his part.
Honestly, I never have understood. I mean, I do have some admiration for that decision, but it doesn't actually make logical sense to me, Dale. If you can get millions of dollars for signing your name, why do you need a college degree?
I guess if you get hurt, then you got something to fall back on. It's,
You've already
guaranteed
made,
anything.
by
Yeah.
signing your name, you've made more money than most people will make in
Yeah.
a lifetime.
Well, I think
I
back
truly
then,
don't get it.
this was a few years ago, back when there was something that players deemed as loyalty to the university. We don't see that at all anymore. I mean, you, in college basketball, you don't even know the players anymore because they're one and done and they're going to the NBA.
Hmm.
And that's hurting the NBA actually because
Hmm.
when you look into it, when I followed the NBA, I don't follow them anymore. It was back when a player played all 4 years of college and they developed a following. Then when they went to the NBA, then those fans followed that player. Now you got a couple of you got some superstars who go play 1 year at Duke, 1 year at UK, and then they're gone, and so they don't develop that following. Then they don't follow that player to the NBA because it's a whole new roster every year. So I think back 10, 12, 13 years ago, you had players who were somewhat loyal to the university and because they were given a free education.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
nowadays, that it just doesn't exist anymore. So I think there's loopholes. Coaches use that because it is legal. It's correct, and some coaches have mastered that to bring the top recruit in, get a title, let them go to the NBA, start all over again. I I just like the old fashioned, play 3 or 4 years, um, make your mark, then go on because that's just my side. Of course, I'm not in that position. If I was in that position, who knows what decision I'd make. So
Well, something else that I've noticed along the same lines is back in the days of Bart Starr and Don Meredith and all those folks. Once you got on the roster on an NFL team, you were pretty much there. It was rare to see these players
yeah.
go from team to team. Today, they are for sale to the highest bidder, which tells me what's this really about?
Yeah, I remember one of the first experiences I had with a player making a lot of money. He was a pitcher for the Reds, and it was back during the Big Red Machine era when Pete Rose told me he used to get up and love to go to the ballpark because he knew they were going to win.
Hmm.
So he enjoyed it. One of the pitchers was given. He was traded. He went to another team. He was a free agent and took a salary for $1 million. All right, back then that wasn't a lot. That was a lot of money back then. The players, and I'm sorry, it was $2 million. It was $2 million, and I wrote a blog or a column on that, and I thought because he made the statement, I have to look out for my family, and I thought if you can't raise a family on $2 million, then you need to reevaluate your spending habits and you reevaluate your priorities because you should have plenty of money to raise a family on $2 million. But
Dell, every time I hear that phrase, I've got to look out after my family. I,
yeah,
if I have a chance to make this remark, I make it. A drug dealer would say the same thing. A bank
yeah,
robber would say the same thing. You can justify anything saying, well, I've got to take care of my family. Well, if that were truly your motive, I might entertain it, but it's hard for me to imagine that people do some things they do in the name of helping out I've got to raise my family.
well, we're going down a different road here, but when you got these athletes make that much money, and it's America, that's great if they can get it. Good for them. You have these entertainers who make an enormous amount of money, who really don't have any talent. They used to have some talent when you were entertainers. Entertainers today don't have any talent.
Yeah.
They can't sing at all.
Yeah, they can cuss.
Yeah, they can get up and rap. But it's great if a movie star gets up and makes billions of dollars for entertaining us for 2 hours, or an athlete can win a championship, or a singer, or whatever. But by golly, if a CEO of a major company who employs thousands of people gets a bonus,
that's a
then
problem.
he's demonized. The big corporate world's terrible because this man makes $10 million and gets a $5 million bonus.
Yeah.
But hey, that superstar wearing Nike can make $30 million, and it's okay. So then who don't appoint anybody? So that gets me on another topic, but it's America. Make what you can make, and stop condemning other people who make a lot of money, because without rich people, guys like me wouldn't have a job.
That's right. Well, two things come to mind, Dale. First of all, when you talk about people getting rich and making a lot of money and that kind of thing, I don't want to work for an employer. If I saw my boss out there jump starting his old clunker every day, I don't think I would feel real good about my paycheck. But my other point is more serious. All of us, Dale, are going to be in a box someday in front of a pulpit, and they're going to be saying things about us. Now, I've gone to a few funerals, and I think you have too. They don't talk about how much you made. They talk about how much you gave of yourself. So regardless of what your income is, you can give of yourself. We talked about that a little bit last week in serving in the mission field or volunteering for things, whatever that may be. The other thing I've noticed at funerals of celebrities, the one that comes to mind is the lady that sang that wonderful national anthem right after 9/11. I can't.
Whitney Houston.
Whitney Houston. Wow, what a super job she did. Well, at her funeral,
she had talent.
Oh boy, she had talent. Well, at her funeral, it comes out, that she's a Christian. Well, okay, let me make point number one. I hope that people don't find out I was a Christian at my funeral. Okay, I think we should live our lives in such a way that we proclaim it. The other thing that impressed me, in the bad way, was all of these friends, who, spent all this time. And I thought, she was struggling with some real issues. If you were such a great friend, where were you when she needed you?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. She was very talented. I think that's the best rendition of the national anthem I've ever heard.
I get chills every time I see it.
It was, in fact, I had it on my blog a couple of weeks ago. So
that's right, you did. In your blog this week, you talked about the depression that Chad experienced because the people that he assumed were his friends, well, they were his friends in fair weather when things were going good, when he was buying the drinks or whatever. But when his career took a downturn, they were nowhere to be found.
Yeah, he said he felt like everybody turned their back on him because he wasn't, it was a what can you do for me now attitude. And he was injured and was coming back and he got benched. So he just kind of felt like everybody turned their back on him. And that's why he hated going to the game, going to workouts. Just hated everything about it. And you could say things like, he should have been better than that, or I'm not in that situation. I mean, you had a few years ago during the Super Bowl when the Broncos beat the Panthers and Cam Newton acted like a complete crybaby after the game. I've never been in that situation. I don't know how I would act, so I probably wouldn't act like that. But who knows? And so I don't know his situation, what he's going through off the field. Could have been things off the field too. But Chad's an upstanding guy. Great testimony, great witness. He does a lot for the community, and this is his way to keep giving back. He's helping players deal with what he went through as well, and that's a great thing because he did point out, and my blog pointed out, that there's a lot of players and people who go through depression. I have my struggles with it at times.
Well, and when you fly that high, I mean, the taller you are, the what is it? The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Yeah.
These people are elevated to just unhuman, positions that nobody can live up to. Oh, you can't just inhale forever. Sooner or later.
No, and I've been around a lot of, I've been in Super Bowls and everything else, and these players are put on a pedestal that I just don't see why. They can make a great play. Yes, that's wonderful, but to treat them like royalty, which is, I mean, I get it, but and it's the media does a lot of it, and the people knocking each other over to get an autograph and a picture, and it becomes chaos. I mean, I was up at the All-Star game last week. I mean, there was parts of it was chaos. I was just trying to get up to the booth to get a hot dog, and it was like hand-to-hand combat.
Well, those were good hot dogs, Dale. You told me so.
They were worth it. It was worth knocking 4 or 5 people over to get.
What was that, about $10 maybe for a hot dog?
No, I didn't pay anything for it. So hot dog with mac and cheese and bacon all over. That was. I'd go back just for that.
The thing that I don't think people understand when they see these celebrities, they don't see, or what on any athletic competition, we see the winner of the NASCAR or whatever, that we don't know what went into that. And I think part of what Chad, as I read that blog today of yours, they don't understand that professional football is work. It's not play. It's not fun. It's got the same doldrums and rigors and routines that any job would have. One time my boss said, "Hey, would you like to do this, this, and this?" I said, "Well, no. That's why you pay me. If you didn't pay me, I wouldn't be here." So you have to do things you don't want to do. But football in particular, but I think all forms, well, anything you excel at, we see the rewards of the person that excelled. But you see, we don't want to pay the price that goes with that, and I think that's what Chad was experiencing. Is this isn't fun? I mean, when you're in training, the crowd isn't there, Dale.
Oh, I know, and it's something they started back when they're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old too, playing, and then they're in. I think they're getting ready to start workouts soon. I was down there one time. I was down to interview Andy Dalton during spring training, and I'm in the clubhouse, and he's over there, getting ready because they just got done. They just come off the field. It was hot, and he showered up. And he ever talked to me, and I looked over, and one of the backup quarterbacks was sitting there, and I won't say who it was, but he just looked completely drained. And I looked over at Andy. I said, "Is he okay?" And he goes, "He's a rookie." He said, "He's overwhelmed right now." And the guy just looked like he could get hit in the head with a 2x4. He was just glazed over, just exhausted. So. Yeah, it's not. That's not glamour and glory and stuff, and they're in a sport where all it takes is one hit and they're done. Yeah, and all that money's gone too. So it can end in an instant.
Yeah, part of the purpose or program in training is to expose you to enough pain and misery that unless you really, really want to play, you're going to quit. And I've always been inspired by the documentary they did on the Navy SEAL training. 85% drop out. By request.
Yeah.
85%. Because, see, they don't want you to be a SEAL unless you really want to be. And they make it extremely easy to quit, and they make it hard to continue. But, see, that grind, and Vince Lombardi had some things to say about this. At the end of the day, it is that grind that makes us better, that makes us champions. The Bible talks about refinement by fire, and it talks about how the goldsmith, it heats that gold up until all the impurities, are boiled out, and they skim it off the top. And when the goldsmith can look down into that gold and see his reflection in it, he knows it's pure. And I think that. The analogy there is, God puts us through some stuff sometimes. He allows us to go. In fact, I was asked a question one time in a Bible study class, and I had to say, I'll get back to you on that next week because I don't know. because there are two passages in the Bible that one says that God would never, tempt us, and yet the Lord's Prayer, the model prayer that Jesus taught us, says, lead us not into temptation. And I thought that seems contradictory, doesn't it? Well, it turns out that the use of the word temptation when it was written could mean one of two things. It could mean what it means today. Well, an evil solicitation. Okay? That was one meaning. But the other meaning of the word was to test. So, in other words, if you bought a tool, okay, a knife, it would say this steel is tempered, and back then they would have said tempted to, and it would give some metric as to how much it can withstand. So tempted sometimes means test, to test. And I think as I read your blog, Chad was put through some tests, and he passed them.
He called it a personal furnace, because he said he was just tormented by it. So I haven't been through that yet, but I've had my own problems. So
give it time, Dale.
Yeah.
Give it time. This was actually your blog today, which let me help our audience out there. If you want to read Dale's blog of today or any other weekly edition of it, you can go to his website at deldidway.com. It is on the screen, and there you will find his blog. But his blog today was actually a chapter out of the book that is coming up in less than a month, August the 5th. First Down Devotions.
First Down Devotions launches. We're excited about that. We're having a couple of activities prior to that. We're going to be at a festival that weekend before, 2nd and 3rd, I think, here in Portsmouth, Ohio. We're going to a book brunch. We're going to launch it at a brunch from 11 to 1. We'll be there signing copies, and we're taking the show on the road, and we're on I think it's the 8th, 9th, and 10th, I think, of August. We're going to be down in Liberty, North Carolina.
So will I.
Yeah, oh, great.
I just got the link. I just got confirmation today. My daughter is going to be able to come with me. She will be paid very well to be my assistant and do the heavy lifting.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you there. You have to take my class.
Well, I'll be filming some classes. I'm there working. I'm working. But I'm looking forward to that. One of the things I told my daughter is, we've got a day we're going to travel on Wednesday so that we can get there Thursday early to set everything up. And we're going to travel back Sunday. So I said, Shelby, we'll just get some time to just hang and relax and just travel. And I said, the other thing is you're going to meet some real winners. You're going to meet some people that I've met, Del Didway, Michelle. Can't wait to see Kyle and several others. And I was looking through the faculty list. This is, obviously it is for writers, but I am very impressed with this, what I call cult of writers. It's a whole new world to me, Del. It's a world within itself, and I'm impressed.
There'll be some folks there who do screenplays as well. So
I saw that. Yeah. I was going to give you a call and kind of go through that roster and kind of find out who's who, but you can just add to that roster. Coach Prasick will be there, and I want to capture some video, especially of Michelle. She's doing the keynote, I understand.
She'll do one of them. Yes. Right,
and so I want to get some video footage to support my team. But also maybe find some new team players.
Oh yeah, there'll be a lot of them there. We're looking forward to it. So, they'll be having like a little launch party for us down there because the books. My publisher will be there. John Herring from Iron Stream Media will be there. So obviously on that night we'll be having like a little celebration for that launch.
There you go. And your book will actually be out. So you'll be.
I haven't got it yet. I should get it next week. So. All I have is, the one I got now, the Dugout Devotions. It looks a lot like this, except it'll be a football on it. It'll say First Down.
Yeah, so, go look at his social media post. It's all, trust me, it's there.
You'll see. Got to push it. So, so we have a lot planned, and we're excited about it, and we think it's going to do well. We're getting some promotions lined up for after the launch as well. Some We're going down to a lot of Bengals games and running into the players there and talking to them about it.
Well, football season is right around the corner, and I can't wait because it's been a long time since I've seen a football game. And there's just something about I just love high school football in particular, because you can. There's that scene in Remember the Titans when he walks out there and the lights are on and everything's just right here. He says this is where you can kind of leave the world behind and just for a few moments just enjoy something good for the most part anyway. But anyway, well, Dale, great job today and every week, and I always look forward. Thanks for sharing a part of your new book coming out. I hope that everybody will go to DaleDidway.com. I put it up there on the screen just a moment ago. And
if everybody's listening, and if anybody gets the book, would love a good review on Amazon. Those are crucial. Through Dugout Devotions, we've had enough. So we've done really well on Amazon with Dugout, to where I'm now considered a best-selling author, which is really humbling to me. So,
yeah, I'll have to get your autograph, man. People will be, fighting with each other to get your autograph, Dale. That'll be great. Yeah. Dale, you're a champion, and it's just great to have you share with us every week like you do. I know you're very faithful, and you do take time out from your schedule, and you do take this serious, and I appreciate it. And I just know that the message that you're sharing is the message of the gospel and the message of good news. And we need more of that. Need more folks like you, Dale. Appreciate you, bro. That was Dale Didway right here, as he is every Tuesday night on PJNet Live. It is Renew US Tonight, and it's a time of praise, and it's a time of worship. So we are going to get back to exactly that as we continue PJNet Live.